Welcome to MyTrack Training. Work orders. An introduction. Work orders are the primary area in MyTrack where you put in the manufacturing requirements to get something made. In MyTrack you have a sales order module, which is demand from your customer, and you have a work order module, which is internal demand. That internal demand comes from existing customer orders, if you are made to order type of company, or it could be internal demand, which would be from a master production schedule or your own product line or your own forecasting. In MyTrack you can link sales orders, the demand from your customer, to a work order, or you could produce a work order entirely void of a sales order. You access the work order module by going to the work order ribbon bar and selecting work order. Like the other modules, on the left hand side is a miniature search mechanism where you could search for specific parts by due date, create date, by customer and things, and you could actually quickly select different work orders and jump through all the details. On the work order screen, the main tab, you have a lot of header information, but it also describes your quantity you're required to make, the quantity you're fabricating, your jobs, if you have associated jobs to this sales order, from a sales order to this work order, and you have some action buttons at the bottom where you could release and unrelease work orders. On the bottom left is where you see the entire assembly exploded out with all the manufactured components. In this example, I have an assembly of 2 items. What we call these are routers. All the requirements to actually build something come from the router. You could review the video on routers, but this is a router where you have your header information, but you also have your different work centers and your estimated setup and run times and all the bill of material required to produce that part. In the work order module, once you release a work order to fabricate a certain amount of parts, those requirements are netted out in order for you to get all the requirements for purchasing, for your labor, your machine usage, and everything else. We have a costing tab on the work order screen, which will be populated as you release and work on the job. As you do that, everything gets populated in real time. You have comments, you have some miscellaneous information, notes, scheduling information, transactions, which will show you every time this job was released and released, you change things, and stuff like that, quality control, and tracking. I'm just going to do a quick review of the tracking. When we released this work order, the router initially had the template of how to manufacture it. Once we released it, the system copied over that template, determined the estimated hours based on the quantity you're manufacturing, and actually shows all the steps required to make this part. Now, as steps are completed and employees clock in and out of the job through kiosks, through barcoding, or through manual entry, you could see the time on the bottom grid of who clocked in, when they clocked in, how long they were. You could edit these times by hitting the edit button. You could change things around. You could put comments. There's all kinds of different flexibility there. Now, in real time, as actions are done on the job, you actually get a status, and the status of each sequence is updated accordingly depending on if it was completed or not. You also have bill of material. Here's all the different raw materials and fabricated parts potentially that make up this assembly, and you could issue, just like we do on the labor, you could actually issue material to the job. As you issue material to the job, you actually deplete inventory, and inventory is relieved. We also have the capability to look at work order reports, so you can see all your open work orders, your tracking of different work orders, where they are, and also a lot of other features for like work in process, work center loading, and purchasing reports. But that's a general overview. The key points for this is a work order produces product to inventory. Once you complete a work order, those parts go into inventory so they can then be consumed to be shipped out the door to a customer, or consumed and pulled into another work order, potentially.